and welcome to episode 5 of Stories from a Bar, podcast of interesting conversations with interesting people. I'm your host, Chris Osborne, and for episode 5, you could say I kind of returned to the scene of the bad joke crime that was episode 4, as I'm back at the awesome Fort Orange Brewery, but this time I'm actually hanging out with one of the creators and brewers, John Westcott. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. You got it spot on.
Awesome. That was one of my concerns.
I tried to make it nice and easy by being named something simple.
Yeah, because it was up to you.
Yeah, of course. That was my decision.
Like I said, I'm back here at Fort Orange in Albany, New York. John, thanks for being with me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Appreciate you stopping down and catching the end of the World Cup here. And just enjoying a nice Sunday.
It was. I like to start out by saying what drink did you decide to go with today? I like that. By the way, I like this Fort Orange oversized coffee cup look that you have going on.
Yeah, so we have a few of these special mugs for the owners and some folks that kind of helped us along the way when we were building out the brewery. But today I'm drinking our Momentum Pale Ale. Probably one of my personal favorites that we brew here, and it's just light, easy to drink beer in the summer.
I appreciate you taking the time to hang out with me. We actually just wrapped up catching the second half of the World Cup game, and I got to say I'm a little disappointed. I was pulling for Croatia, and France won. I would have enjoyed seeing the French lose to just about any team.
Yeah, and you kind of always want the underdog to win if you don't have a dog in the fight. So
yeah, but on the plus side, I did just meet one of the most interesting people I have ever met.
Yes, yeah.
And we were just talking about that, a guy from Belfast. And it was funny, I asked him how he ended up in the States. His response, I was drunk.
Yeah, Irish Dave, he's a great customer of ours. Comes in.
You call him Irish Dave?
Irish Dave. Yeah, he's a great guy. Comes in several times a week and always has fascinating stories to tell us.
Certainly what I could make out when he was talking was fascinating.
Yes, yeah, we've grown accustomed to the accent.
So tell me a little about yourself. By the way, I am drinking the Momentum Pale Ale as well, and it's wonderful, delightful. I just had the Stress Away IPA, which I understand the name now that I saw the alcohol percentage of it, which was 8%.
Yeah, it definitely takes away some of your concerns after you have one or two of those.
It did. It helped with some stress. But tell me a little about yourself.
Yeah, so
I know you're a local guy, right?
Yes, I'm a local guy. I grew up in Colony, New York. Went to Colony High School, and pretty much been in the area my whole life. Currently, all three of us that own the brewery, myself, Jim, and Craig. We've all got day jobs that we're doing, and we kind of decided to open this up on the side. So kind of a labor of love, and we've all been brewing for a long time. Home brewing individually, then we kind of all met a few years back, started brewing together, and before you know it, here we are with our own brewery.
What were you doing while you were doing the home brew then? What was the last day job, I should say?
So currently still working at a local bank here. Managing
are you really?
Yes, yeah. So managing some technology development and support teams. So I do that as a day job, do this at night. Craig does some architectural engineering stuff. And then Jim works at a local college doing some recruitment and admissions type stuff.
Oh, really? So this is not the real full-time?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. Yeah, obviously that's the goal, but right now, this is something we're doing off hours and just making it work.
Well, we were talking just before this. We both actually went to the same college. You went to St. Rose, right?
Yes. Yeah, did my undergraduate there.
And I was just saying we were trying to figure out when we graduated. I know I've graduated from there at least 10 years ago. And I remember Jimmy Fallon was the commencement speaker. I didn't go because they stopped doing ceremony. I finished in December, and they stopped doing ceremonies in December, maybe like the year before that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's kind of BS.
Yep.
Like, I'm not going to come back in 6 months just to walk across the stage.
Right. We might have been in the exact same boat with that.
Like, I've got things to do.
Yeah.
What was your major while you were at St. Rose?
So business administration.
Okay.
So I did that with a concentration in small business management, which ultimately ended up, helping me with this part of the brewery.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions. I know Schenectady actually the community college recently started a brewing program.
Yes.
Right? St. Rose definitely doesn't have that.
Right.
Not a lot of people go to school for actual brewing. So your degree is actually paying off to some extent.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It's actually working. I mean, it helps me in my day job, and it certainly helps here. The way we kind of broke things out between the three of us is I do a lot more of the business side. Jim does a lot of the marketing, and Craig does most of the brewing. So.
Really?
Yeah. So it panned out well.
Yeah, I was just looking at the website because it's a nice About Us section with the team, so you can see who's doing what. What got you interested in brewing?
Honestly, in college, I was buying Sam Adams Boston Lager, and I thought to myself, wait, I can make this for cheaper. So the frugal part of me said, let me try homebrewing. It sounds fun. So
college is usually a money pinch.
Yeah, exactly. So did a batch or two. It was some of the worst stuff I've ever drank in my life. And then slowly started to actually learn the science behind brewing. And at that point, started making something I felt comfortable with drinking and serving to other folks.
So we were talking about how you got into brewing. I noticed on the website you mentioned a local bar. Well, used to be a local bar, Mahar's.
Yes. Yeah. I think a lot of people have this story about Mahar's.
Everyone has a Mahar's story,
Yep.
at least if you've gone to school in the Albany area. It's no longer Mahar's, though. It is now the Madison Poorhouse.
Yes.
But they still have, just as many things on tap, like 100 taps or something.
Yeah,
It's
they got a pretty
absolutely crazy.
Pretty crazy variety there.
And also, reading the About Me section, I noticed it sounded like you had I wrote down how I wanted to phrase this because it was a good pun. You had some hopped up horror stories. You see what I did there? From your home brewing experiments there when you first started.
Yes, yeah. Just again, the whole learning curve, especially when you're not doing enough research, can be pretty tough there. So yeah, there were some batches that definitely my wife, now girlfriend at the time, wasn't too fond of.
So
some overflowing and exploding beers.
Exploding, so it went everywhere.
Yeah, so issues with bottles. Had an issue with that one time, and then I think the first batch ever kind of boiled over and might have made a mess all over our rented apartment. So that was a learning experience, is what I like to look at it as.
That's I refer to a lot of stuff as a learning experience.
Yeah. Opportunities.
But nothing involving injury, I assume.
Thankfully, no.
No?
So
Okay.
far, I can't say that I've been injured by brewing.
Well, give it time.
Yeah.
And we're actually recording from behind the bar by all the equipment here. One question I can only assume is that I see you have names on the tanks.
Yes.
Is that kids' names?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So when we did the tanks, traditionally a brewery will just do FV for fermenting vessel 1 through whatever. So we each took our oldest kid and threw their name on the tanks, which they were very excited about. And people ask us a lot what that's about, but a lot of this was family for us. We wanted to be very family focused. So.
Well, let's talk about the brewery. I know you mentioned, or I mentioned certainly in the top, you were one of the guys behind the brewery. Tell me about the other two and how you guys met. I know there's Jim I haven't met yet.
Okay.
Craig's been working the bar, getting me my beers. Great guy.
Yep.
How'd you guys all come together?
Yeah, so Jim and I actually live on the same street. So so we
all right.
Yeah, so we moved. Me and my wife moved there.
I've met Jim's wife the few times I've come in. She was the one behind the bar.
Okay.
She was super nice.
Yes, yeah. Like I said, it's it's the three of us, our wives, and my sister-in-law are always the ones behind the bar. So kind of keeping it in the family. But yeah, to your question, so Jim and I live on the same street. So when we moved there, got to know each other, tried to brew a few batches together, and they came out okay. And we kind of just kept going at it and just trying to brew more and more just for fun at the time. It wasn't for any other reason. And then we met Craig because all of our wives run together. They'll do half marathons, races all over the place.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of running.
Yeah.
I'll work out, that's great, but if I was running, I'd probably only go. Well, let me put it this way: if someone was chasing me with a life-threatening weapon, gun,
Yes.
knife, doesn't really matter. I'd run so far, and then I would probably just stop and ask them to kill me.
Yeah. Or if you're with a group, just don't be the slowest guy. That's all.
If you're running from a bear, just don't be the slowest person.
Yeah.
That's all there is.
Exactly. Good
Yeah.
life advice there.
That's when I have a kid. That's what I'm going to tell them. Just don't be the slowest,
Yep.
and you'll make it through life just fine.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we met Craig and we started brewing with Craig a little bit, and he of the three of us, he certainly had the most advanced knowledge in brewing, and we learned a lot from him. And Craig had always wanted to open his own brewery. I've always wanted to own my own business, and Jim kind of always wanted to own his own business and open a brewery. So
it was kind of the perfect combination of guys
it
to
really
get
was.
started.
It really was. So like I said, we started brewing together a few times. A lot of the recipes that we have on tap, like Momentum, for example, like we're drinking, that was a homebrew batch that we just threw together, tweaked it a couple times, and now we're selling it and brewing it on the big system.
So what were some of the were there batches that went wrong in the beginning?
No, honestly, we got lucky. Yeah, so again, Craig really knows what he's doing with the brewing side of things. So we've had batches that weren't as exciting as we maybe hoped, but we never really had an issue where there was something we're like, oh, this is just god awful. We can't drink this. So it wasn't too bad.
Even back in the apartment days?
Well, those were
Okay.
terrible, but I try to forget about those.
So was the girlfriend, now wife at the time, the guinea pig for that, or?
She liked craft beer at the time. I mean, we would go to Mahar's. There was a couple of us and our friends that would go, so she would try different craft beers as well. But yeah, it was tough to get through some of those, but we managed.
So when did you guys finally get the idea in the head that, this is what I want to do, or you guys wanted to do, and you finally went for it?
Yeah, it was, I want to say, so probably around the fall, summer of, I think it was 2016. So we started talking about it. We had brewed a few batches that we thought we wanted to do.
I was going to say, this place has been open for, about a year now?
About 8 months.
8 months,
so it'll be a year October 25th. So
it was October. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so around that time, we were like, okay, we could probably do this. So we spent the good portion of that fall and winter putting together a business plan, doing a lot of research, going to a few different breweries to get some experience. And then in the, I guess the winter of 2017, so when we got this place, we started our lease and we started doing all the build out and all the construction to turn it into the brewery.
I love the warehouse vibe, which is really great. Forgot where I was going with this already. It works really well for breweries, and mainly because the equipment's so large.
Right.
I mean, what was it about? Was it your goal when you set out looking for places? You mentioned it briefly before we started that you wanted to set up shop in Albany.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, you mentioned looking at Colony.
Yeah.
Was it more like trying to find anything that would work, or starting with a town and having to branch out if needed?
Yeah, so when we first started, it was really just where are there even places that could work for us? Could we turn into a brewery with the tap room? Because, even though you think there's a ton of warehouses, they're not all great fits. But we always wanted to do a warehouse.
We also are in the warehouse district of Albany, so I guess that helps, yes.
That does help, yeah. So there was a little bit of abundance down here. But yeah, so we looked at a few places. We looked at, what would need to be done to get the place up and running, and some of the places we looked at, just we knew we'd have to put a lot more into it than we wanted to financially, just to get the place at a point where we could, get our equipment in. But we found this location on North Pearl Street, and it had some of the features that we needed already built in, so we knew it was a good fit. It was kind of where we were in with our budget, and we went for it.
Actually, one of my favorite things about the location is, you hear North Pearl Street, anybody in the area thinks immediately downtown, Times Union Center, all that busy area. This is actually more like Upper North Pearl Street, and it's more like a residential area.
Yes.
And it's nice and kind of quiet outside.
Yeah, it's pretty calm. I mean, you've got houses, a block or two down. We're close enough to, a lot of other places in the warehouse district. So, we do have people that will walk from, a Nine Pin, a Druthers, Albany Distilling, all the, the local producers. They'll make a day out of it. And we actually have the craft beverage trail where they can get the stamps on their passports and kind of hit all the spots in one day.
Let's talk about the beverage trail passport, because I actually don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, so that was launched. I want to say
I know it was recent. It wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah, it was about a month or two ago. It was launched at Drink Saratoga. I think it was maybe early.
That was only
June.
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. So basically, there's about 20-ish, give or take, producers within the craft beverage trail. You got your folks here in Albany, you got your Schenectady, and all the surrounding areas. And the passport is basically, you go into a location, you purchase a beverage, and we will stamp your passport. We'll stamp a little ticket, and you kind of earn prizes. So if you do if you go to 5 producers, you get a snifter glass with a craft beverage trail logo.
There's nothing better than prizes for drinking.
People love prizes and people love drinking.
They do.
It is a great combo. But yeah, so it goes up from there. You can get winter hat, you can get growlers, shot glasses, and the ultimate prize, if you hit all of them, is you get into all of our drink events. So you're probably familiar with Drink Saratoga, Drink Albany.
Yeah, and which are great festivals for anyone that hasn't been to either.
They're amazing, and you get to do a lot of local samples of all the producers in the area, in the surrounding area. And if you do all the passports, you get to go into all those events next year for free.
See, that part I did not know.
Yes.
And now it's even more encouraging.
Yes.
Setting up future drunkenness is something I can get on board with.
Yeah, it's always a good thing.
And actually, as it turns out, as we talk about the brewery, the Fort Orange name actually has some history behind it.
Yes.
How did you guys end up settling on the name? And
yeah, so when we finally got the place, and we were, even when we got it, we were kind of thinking, all right, what's the name going to be? When we knew we were in Albany, we wanted to do something that kind of honored like local Albany, historic Albany, and even some of the brewing tradition, because Albany was a brewing mecca for
Albany,
quite a while.
And it's funny, there is, as I was doing research, even on this, I came across something called, of course I forget the name of it now, the Albany Ale Project or something like that. all about the history of brewing in Albany and stuff, and I was actually blown away because I did not know any of that.
Yeah.
Albany is a huge mecca for brewing, and it has been for 200 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, until we started doing this and some of the research, we didn't really even know the history behind it. But to hear like how like big brewing was in Albany was pretty amazing. So we kind of took the Fort Orange Brewing was a brewery for a short period of time in the 1800s. But we liked the name. Obviously, Fort Orange is the oldest fort in Albany, kind of the beginning of the first Dutch settlement.
Yeah.
And so we took the shape of the fort for our logo, and we try to incorporate as much as we can about Albany history into some of the stuff we do.
I mean, did you have that in the back of your mind when you first opened the place, or is that something you just thought of after?
Oh, we had it in our mind. I mean, once we knew we were going to stick with Albany, it was like, all right, let's hone in on some of these names that we were been like kind of whittling the list down, and sure enough, that was the one we settled on.
And I was actually going to bring this up, but you just mentioned it. The actual logo for the brewery is in the shape of the original fort.
Yes.
Which is actually pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a cool shape, and we do our flight holders.
Even your flight holders, the wood is cut out in the same shape and everything like that. Did you guys have a long list of names? I'm curious about rejected names more than anything.
We did have a long list, and it's funny.
Names fascinate me because they're just so hard to finalize and come up with.
They are, yeah. I mean, when we were thinking about names for the brewery, that was tough, and then you start getting into naming beers, and it's like anything you think of is probably already taken for the most part. But yeah, I mean, we had a list, and I'm trying to think right now if I can even remember some of the rejected names. I don't think they were that good, which is probably why I can't remember them.
Well, of course, that's why they were rejected.
Yeah.
But, names always intrigue me. Of course, I love names that make me laugh more than anything.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the beers. I know my friend Anthony and I were here for episode 4 as we were sitting, drinking, and telling horrible dad jokes. Bad jokes, however you want to describe them. I mean, you, of course, have some, even your beers have Albany references in them, some of them at least. I know there's the Pearl Street IPA. Of course, your standard Fort Orange IPA, the Fort Orange Nipper IPA.
Yes.
Let's talk about Nipper, because anyone not in Albany doesn't know what Nipper is.
Yeah, so I mean, I think growing up, anybody that's kind of driven down this area knows there's a giant dog on top of what was, I believe, the RCA building at one point.
It was,
in time.
and it was fun. I had the idea of what it was from growing up here and everything like that. But I actually found a news clipping on it, or at least a standard thing that I'm actually going to read because it was more interesting than I actually remembered it being. Across the long, rich history of Albany, Nipper ranks as top dog, which I think it's safe to say. The 28-foot tall, which I didn't even know it was 28 feet tall. It's big. If you just drive into Albany, actually, is it still there?
It's still there?
It's
yeah,
still there,
it's still
right?
there.
Yeah. 28 feet tall. It's 4-ton steel and fiberglass canine statue anchored atop a warehouse on North Broadway, which is just the next street over. It's, of course, captured the hearts and minds of young and old for 3 generations. Nipper was a real-life dog, which I did not know.
Yep.
19th century England was painted by the dog owner's brother, Francis Barrade, which sounds French to me.
A little bit.
Yeah. Which they just won the World Cup, so I guess this is an appropriate article to read.
It's a nice segue, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice segue. I had this planned from the beginning. He depicted the curious dog listening to a gramophone, and it titled it His Mother's Voice. I did not get a chance to look up the painting, but that's something I should do. It became internationally recognized logo for several audio recording companies, including RCA, which we just mentioned. Nipper came to his downtown Albany perch at 991 Broadway in 1958, so he's been around for over 50 years, which is really impressive, actually. Following renovations of a rundown reinforced concrete warehouse built in 1900, became known as the home of RTA, an appliance distributor specializing in products by RCA. Sculpture was fabricated in Chicago, so he's a Chicago dog. Shipped by rail in 5 sections, assembled on the roof with the help of a 10-story crane and attached to a metal frame. He is not considered an actual landmark, though.
Yeah, that's too bad.
It really is. There's no formal landmark protection on him. But as the article concluded, he has captured the heart and soul of the city.
He has, yeah. They actually recently, I believe it was last year, they did a project where they had a bunch of smaller versions of Nipper, and they had local artists paint them, and they're kind of displayed like randomly throughout the city, so you can kind of catch different versions of them painted all over the place.
Oh, it's funny because Albany, that's Albany. Saratoga does the same thing with horses because of the track and everything. So it was nice to get some of that history in. one thing, we were just talking about the beer names. One thing I want to ask you about, you have a beer called Where'd Bob Go? This raises two questions. First, who's Bob? Second, where did he go?
Yeah, so Bob is actually, again, lives on our street, kind of keeping it all in the family here. But he was one of our friends that kind of helped with a lot of the build out down here, helped with the electric, helped, anytime we needed any help, really, he was down here with us. So the kind of story behind the beer name was he loves rye, pale ales. So his 40th birthday, was the end of last year. So we've been open for like 2 months. So his wife wanted to throw a surprise 40th birthday party. So we thought, he helped us so much, let's name a beer after him. And Jim's youngest daughter at the time was 2 or 3 maybe. And she always used to go, where'd Bob go? Peekaboo type thing. So we're like, all right, let's name it that. That's kind of funny. So yeah, we named the beer after him. We kind of released it in a private, party prior to releasing it to the public for him, just as a way of saying thank you, again, for all the work that he had helped with. And then, we get a lot of questions. A lot of people saying, where did he go? And sometimes we'll actually give his physical location, and sometimes we'll make stuff up.
I would make something up every time someone asked. But you also do the Albany series. What exactly is the Albany series? I know I've had a few of them. It's really just rotating beers that you guys have come up with? Yeah,
so basically what we try to do is we'll take a small batch of something, right? So if we've got, for example, the one that's on tap right now, we took our super local Imperial Stout and we aged it in a honey whiskey barrel. We aged it for, about a month or so. And so it'll be 10 gallons, nothing major. We're not doing it on the big system by any means, but it gives us the opportunity to kind of experiment with stuff before we maybe potentially do it on the larger system.
What do you use for a smaller system? I'm curious.
So if we're gonna brew it, we use our homebrew system. Back in the day when we were doing 10-gallon batches, we actually we'll go back to doing that if we want to try something completely unique. And then if we're doing like a spin-off variation of one of our bigger beers, we'll just we'll ferment it in the tanks. And we've added strawberries and blueberries to 2 separate batches of ours General Blonde Ale.
Which that was the first beer I had when I got here, and that was wonderful.
Yes. So exactly. So we're proud of how that came out. So we said, let's take 10 gallons, throw a bunch of strawberries in it, and kind of offer that up. And it's a way for us to give different beers, experiment with different processes, and kind of keep that one tap rotating through every week or so.
That's cool. And I'm going to say this now. I have some suggestions for future names, but I'm going to close out the show with that.
All right.
And I think you'll enjoy it.
All right.
And I'm sure you'll use at least one of them.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. I know this has actually been I've noticed a pretty good family environment for a brewery. I know that was important to you guys when you opened it, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, obviously the 3 of us having kids of our own, it was important. And, when we went through and did research, we went to a lot of different breweries prior to doing this. And, one of the things we liked were the ones with large open spaces. They encourage, families to come together. We've got board games for people to play.
The board games are great.
Yeah, that's a huge hit. We've seen that at a lot of different places, so we're like, we got to do something like that.
Well, it's great when you mix in with drinking with the board games, because people will start to take them pretty seriously.
Oh, yes. Yeah, we've had some intense games of sorry.
That generally end in an apology.
Yes, exactly. But no, it's it was really important for us to make it that way, and we also wanted to have the larger tap room. I mean, the tap room itself is 2,200 square feet.
Yeah, this is a huge warehouse.
Yes,
and it's great.
Yeah, it was big. That was important for us when we were deciding on a place. We wanted to be able to expand production, but we also wanted to be able to, if you bring a group of 20 in here for your birthday, it's not immediately like overwhelming for anybody else that comes in. There's a lot of space to bring groups in and have, private parties, parties when we're open, things like that.
I'm curious, what do you tell the kids about the actual liquid you're drinking when you brew it?
It depends on the age.
It's funny because I have a lot of younger cousins, and whenever we'd go on family vacations, if I'm drinking a beer or something like that, they'd be like, what is that? I'd say it's an adult beverage.
Yeah.
They're like, what's it taste like? And my general go-to response was just happy.
I like that. I'm going to have to start using that.
It tastes like happy.
Yeah.
Although you can't have it.
Yes.
So you're going to be sad.
Yeah, no,
do the kids ask about it?
Not really. I mean, I think they kind of understand that they're in a brewery. I mean, we do have juice boxes, so we tend to gear them towards that. I think the liquor authority probably appreciates that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. Or I imagine the doors would be closed pretty quickly.
Quickly if we start serving 7-year-olds. Yeah. It's I think again we don't have an environment where it's I'm going there to drink 20 Coors Lights and that type of nature. Everybody's relaxed
and still feel fine because it's Coors Light.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, just took me back to the college days or the budget days.
Yeah, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Back then, that was all you could afford.
It was. Well, it's funny because there's those different levels of beer that you can tell someone who buys it what they have in store.
Yes.
The Keystone, the Coors, like, oh, someone's got beer pong or drinking games in their plans tonight. Oh, someone buys a nice craft beer, something like that. They're going for quality than they are quantity.
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of have to. I mean, a lot of the craft beers, you can't treat them like you do, a generic light beer.
No. And I remember playing beer pong where there was the Coors or even the Keystone. And then I have the real beer I'm drinking off to the side.
Yes, yeah.
What have been some of your favorite moments from opening the brewery? There's a lot. You guys have a lot going on. I know there's comedy nights. There's, of course, trivia.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and it's probably a cliche, but my favorite and most memorable night probably for a long time is going to be opening night. So the three of us, you don't know what to expect. You hope that you got a lot of people that are excited, and we spent a lot of time trying to build up the promotion of the opening night. But we opened the doors, and all of a sudden the tap room was full. And all
really?
Of a sudden,
so like right away?
Yeah, right away. I mean, we literally, so our poor wives came here after work for the press conference with the mayor and all the public officials, and they just planned to have a beer and enjoy it and go home. And we were so busy that we had all six of us, all three families behind the bar. We had a line wrapping around the building, out the door.
Wow.
And it was just such a surreal moment. Like we made it. Like we finally opened and we achieved our dream. And that was like a memory I think that we all just look back on as like kind of, like I said, surreal. It's just, you couldn't believe it.
That's awesome. And how does the mayor get involved in that scenario then? I'm curious.
Yeah, so I mean, the mayor is very, very friendly towards new businesses, obviously, in Albany, and a lot of businesses are geared towards craft beverages. You see, a lot of places opening up.
Yeah, and I talked about this with Kevin from Rare Form. They're just kind of blowing up all over the place.
Yes.
In Albany, Troy, the whole entire surrounding area. Because again, Albany's a mecca, as we've learned.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't want to say opening a brewery is foolproof, but I mean, you just see people are dying for tap rooms and local beer. That's the trend these days. So,
and it's good to see, and it's great supporting local businesses, of course.
Yeah. So it was cool. So we engaged some folks to help us with PR for the event and had a press conference down here, and it was great. It's cool to see that kind of support from the community.
So you if you're doing a press conference, so you have people asking you questions?
Oh, it wasn't kind of like that.
Okay.
So yeah, it was.
See, I picture at this point, I picture just somebody that's enjoyed a few too many standing at a press box.
Yeah. I like to think the team, it's really a team effort now. It was more just, kind of saying some words. We got to speak to, the people that were here, kind of witnessing and watching and whatnot. It was more just kind of, get that information out there. But, again, she proclaimed it Fort Orange Brewing Day, enjoyed, had a beer, enjoyed, good time.
That's super. How did she have just one? Or did she have
I believe she had just one.
Okay.
Yes.
Good old mayor.
Yes.
Something else I love is the food truck.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a good food truck, and you guys have them rotating in all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen that, again, some of these places with a lot of different breweries, that's kind of the model
and that's
that works.
the thing now. Even at Rare Form or other ones around Albany, they have the food trucks coming in, and it's great because there's always something different.
Yeah.
And it's all local stuff.
Right. Local. You got variety, so this one night's burgers.
It's stuff that you might not even find if you weren't going to drink.
Yep.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, personally, I could say I don't know that I've gone to many food trucks in my life until we opened this up.
Exactly.
And now you got variety.
Yeah. One thing I definitely want to talk about, as I was perusing through the Fort Orange website in the About section, of course, there's a nice little history on the logo, which we talked about. Nice little blurbs on all three of you guys that operate this place. Yours including that you were in a band.
Yes.
And I believe it was called Inside Draw.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Not only were you in a band, you won a battle of the bands.
Yes. Yeah, that was...
I got to talk about this. I know I said local battle of the bands. Why don't we talk about this?
Yeah, so...
You're a big music guy?
I am, yeah. So, the dream in high school was, start a band and tour the world and become world famous, and obviously that did not happen.
I've had that dream.
Yeah, I think everybody does at one point.
Everyone has that dream.
Yes. But yeah, so we were
went the opposite way with all the booze, but none of the music.
Right, exactly. And that's okay. I'm good with it.
Yeah, it's working out for you.
Yes, it is. It was, I had a band in high school, into the early college college years. And we played a few local shows, and just through some connections, we got onto a battle of the band. So it was us versus another local band, and it was kind of cool. It was a national contest. It was sponsored by MTV2, Xbox.
So you won the local battle of bands, right? To go into the national competition?
Correct.
Okay. Where was the local one?
It was at, Northern Lights, which is now Upstate Concert Hall.
Concert Hall,
yeah. So it was there, went back to Northern
right.
Lights. Yeah, so it was pretty neat. They had a bunch of video game systems set up all over the place. They had 8 screens on the stage, and they'd have people playing games while we're doing the show, which was kind of neat.
That sounds interesting, but it also sounds distracting if you're in the band playing your music and people are busy playing video games.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but you kind of hone in and get going.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was that. So we won that. It was just between the 2 bands, and then you go on to a local one, and the winner. I'm trying to think back.
The national one?
Yeah, the national winner got on Cool Borders 2, or one of those snowboarding games 10 years ago.
It was an NBA game or something that you mentioned on the website.
Yeah.
You don't remember who won, though?
I don't. It wasn't us, I can tell you that.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Nobody that's around today.
Right, exactly. But we had fun. And it was
Which is a nice
time.
consolation prize with the feeling of coming in.
Yes.
Not winning.
Sure, yeah.
What kind of music are you into? I know you play guitar.
Yeah.
Right.
So I like all types of music. I'll listen. Mostly I like rock, music, punk rock and stuff like that. But I like rap. I like country.
Big punk fan right here.
Nice. So who were your favorite bands growing up?
Oh man, if you want to go back, to date. Well, embarrassingly, my first actual CD was Boyz II Men.
Oh, I got you beat.
Hold on. Let me phrase that. I'm not embarrassed by that. My friend Josh and I would actually, in our college years, would sing "I'll Make Love to You" in karaoke and get standing ovations because we knew the parts.
That's awesome.
But when I started going punk, of course, it was the big Blink 182 was breaking out with Dude Ranch.
Yep.
No Effects.
Yeah.
I do the classic. There was the pop punk mixed in. I had an older brother that would pick on me when I didn't listen to something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Blink 182 is one of my favorite bands growing up into. It's kind of the pop punk type stuff. But I think I got you beat on the first CDs ever because I bought 2 at the same time. One was Green Day's Dookie, which
I was gonna go back and I forgot the word I'm looking for, but refresh my original statement. First CD may have been Boyz II Men, but it was my second or somewhere shortly after was Dookie.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so mine was Dookie and the Lion King soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what possessed me to get that at the time, but thankfully I went the path of Green Day and those types of bands.
So that's just about as opposite as mine was.
Yeah.
Between Boyz II Men and Green Day.
Yeah, yep.
Well, okay. First concert.
Oh man, it was...
let me throw this out there because it's a big statement.
Yeah.
I'm going to top whatever you say.
Okay, you probably will.
In ridiculousness.
All right, mine's not that exciting. It was Fuel at the Palace, actually. The band Fuel.
Yep. Yeah. I really enjoyed old school Fuel.
Yeah, they were really good, and that was old school back then.
It was.
Yeah.
First concert here, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Nice.
Not by choice.
Sure.
But I was into it because I was a kid and my parents brought me.
Yeah, so you kind of had no choice.
It was the achy breaky heart days.
Yeah, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. No judgment here.
No, I try to take pride in it. Say, yeah, that's how deep my musical roots go.
That's good.
It was really before he became a joke.
That's good. So you could have that as a disclaimer.
It was, yeah, exactly, and I'll put that up there. I mentioned earlier that I had some beer names that I want to suggest, and I feel like this is a great way to end the show.
Yeah, let's hear them.
Okay. You have some, of course, that have Albany references. So I kind of have a mix of Albany reference ones and non-Albany reference ones. But my goal is, by God, someone's going to name one of their beers after what I suggest. And you can be that guy today. You can be that lucky individual.
All right, let's hear it.
You, Craig, and Jim. I'm telling you, be brave. Do it. Because anyone that's listened to my episode with Kevin from Rare Form knows, or that has been there since, they have not quite taken me up on any of the names I suggested. There's still time.
Yes.
I haven't heard otherwise, though.
Well, I can't make any promises, but we're always willing to listen.
Well, you'll hear these, and you're going to want to.
Okay. All right. Let's go.
There's of course, Lark Street Lager to go with your Pearl Street IPA.
All right.
I thought that just sounded good. And, of course, the type of beer after the name can be interchanged.
Yes.
I'm not married to lager, IPA, pale ale, or anything like that. It's really
right.
just the names are the focus here. 787 Porter.
I like that.
That one actually sounds pretty good.
It does. Rolls off the tongue.
It does. It's nice. Empire IPA. We, of course, New York is the Empire State.
Yes.
We even have an AFL team this year.
Doing
the
very well.
Albany Empire.
Doing
That just
very
won
well.
their first playoff game.
Yeah.
You have the Smallbany series. I am recommending a new series. I haven't come up with a name for the actual series, but listen to the names that go along with it. They're Albany related because it's great. The first beer in this series should be called Yes, Albany Really Is the Capital of New York State IPA. Like I said, if you make it a series, you can follow that up with Go Ahead, Look It Up, I'm Right. The third one can be I Told You So.
I like it.
And then you can finish it off with a fourth beer called No, That's Not Fake News.
Oh, geez, there we go. Yeah.
So it comes full circle.
Yes.
There's the Excellent Ale after the egg.
All right.
See,
I like the play on words there.
Some of these are winners. Well, I take that back. All of them are winners. I know they are.
I like the confidence, though.
It's all about the confidence. I'm really selling this. This next one came while I was watching an old episode of Seinfeld. Double Dipper IPA.
Okay. Was that something they brought up in the episode?
Have you not seen Seinfeld?
I have. I don't know that I can recall Double Dipper IPA.
There's not to go into too much detail, because sadly, not sadly, I know all the episodes quite well. It's one of the best shows ever created. But there's an episode where George double dips a chip at a funeral, and he gets accused of being a double dipper.
Nice. Okay. All right.
Okay. Plus, it's got to be a double IPA.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. You can switch it out with the Stress Away, which I had prior to this, and it still got me feeling pretty non-stressful, I'll say. Now, this last one I recommended to Kevin at Rare Form. As far as I know, he hasn't taken me up on this, so this is your chance not to miss out.
Okay.
Beat Rare Form at their own game on this one.
All right. Let's see.
Slap and Tickle IPA.
Okay. All right.
People can come in and can ask for a slap and tickle.
They could. It's funny that you say that. So we sponsor our beer league softball team, and prior to that, we were Slap and Triple. So
Was that really the name of
that
the
was the softball team name.
So
yes.
this is Kismet.
It kind of is. Yeah. So now, I'm going to have to obviously make sure that Kevin's not secretly brewing these for a surprise for you.
I can always go back and test their beers and make sure they're not make sure all the names are in check.
There you go. Okay. Sounds good.
And if I can get a bidding war going, that'd be great. So next time you brew a batch, I expect to see Slap and Tickle on one of those.
I'll bring it to one of our meetings. So
there you go.
We'll
bring
see.
that into a meeting.
We'll see if it sticks.
All right. Actually, now that I think about it, I know. How do you guys get beers when you go to local places and convince them to put them on tap?
Yeah, so we'll obviously bring samples of our beers because we want to be able to show what our product is and why we feel so strongly about it. But it's samples. It's getting to meet some of the bar managers, the owners, and really trying to focus on the local aspect. At the end of the day, people want to drink local. That's one of the key buzzwords. Anytime you see statistics around beer, and we just want to make sure that folks know we're here. So we'll meet with them, talk about it, and try the samples. And it's kind of been our strategy so far, and so far it's been working.
It's great. And you guys, I know Hooters had your stuff on tap.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. They just recently for a second time actually.
Oh, it was the second. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. They had
and
our
in
Fort
fact,
Orange
it was, and I saw that it was the Where'd Bob Go?
Yes. Yeah. I believe he immediately went down there right
afterwards. He went straight to Hooters as soon as they put it on tap.
Yep.
Classic Bob.
Yeah.
I've never met him, but it sounds like classic Bob.
It's right up his alley.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode. We're approaching about the time mark that I like to keep these at. I'd like to thank you, John Westcott, for being on the show. Again, thanks for taking the time to hang out with me. Tell me about the brewery, share some stories.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming down and glad you enjoyed the beers. And
we were talking before. I love this place. It's great beers. I enjoy the environment. Plus, it's a 10-minute drive.
Yeah, always helps.
It's the closer, the better.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone out there who listens to the show. And if you ever find yourself in Albany, definitely be sure to stop by Fort Orange Brewing. Grab yourself a beer, maybe Belfast Dave there.
Irish Dave.
Yes. 4-drink Irish Dave. We'll be at the bar. He's quite the interesting guy to talk to. Yeah, but definitely stop into Fort Orange if you're in Albany. Grab a beer, say hi to any of the people behind the bar. Also, be sure to check out the website if you're interested in what food trucks are coming along. You guys have a comedy night, too, coming up, right?
We do, yes. We actually have a lot of events coming up.
A lot of events. I know there's, of course, trivia every
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, we do an indoor cornhole league.
The cornhole league.
Yes, that's Wednesday nights. So we do a cornhole league. We do typically
anyone with a cornhole the game addiction.
Yeah. it's a great time. People, this is our third season that we've done, and we do it pretty much year round now. So can stop.
Does it have a nice turnout?
It does, yeah. We're up to, I believe, 28 teams for this summer session.
Holy crap, that's a lot of
so we
teams.
set up 4 boards, 2 inside, 2 outside. When the weather's nice, and in the winter we do them all inside, and it's a good time, good reason to get out of the house.
How is actually that's something else I'm curious about. You mentioned winter. Are you guys able to keep an even level of heat in this kind of warehouse in the winter?
We are, yeah. We'll be probably
Because it really
upgrading.
is, for anyone that hasn't been here, when I say it's a big warehouse, it really is just a big open warehouse with like a giant garage door on the front.
Yeah, we managed to survive the winter, and we'll be looking at probably enhancing our heating situation come.
Well, you
come
guys
fall.
just installed air conditioning, right?
Yes, that'll be actually up and running hopefully tomorrow.
That would explain why I'm sweating.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. yeah. The nice thing about the garage door, though, we'll get both the front and back going, and nice breeze comes through here. But yeah, to your original point, we got a lot of events coming up, so they can check out cornhole trivia, a lot of one-off events on our website, as well as the food trucks.
Yeah, definitely check out the website. You can even read a little history about the logo. You can check out the 3 guys that own the place. Thank you. I'm pretty sure I already said this. Thank you for listening to the show. Stop by the website. You can find Stories from the Bar, the show, on Twitter and Instagram at StoriesFAB, StoriesFab as I like to call it. As I tell people, I did not plan that. You can also follow myself, CS Osborne 83. You can follow Fort Orange on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook too. All the forms of social media. And finally, to wrap things up, feel free to rate the show. Give us a fantastic review. You can find it on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Google Play, all the major sources of podcasts. Certainly spread the word. So thanks for checking out the show. John, thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.